Hey guys, Dan here with Battlefield Curator. You ever walk into the store and see an M1 carbine on the shelf? Are you curious to see if it's an actual World War II era M1 carbine or if it's a commercially made one? Sometimes gun shops may not even care to do the actual research on the weapon, so therefore you'd be smart to do your own research and know ahead of time what you're looking at. So I've prepared a guide to help you decipher whether or not it is an actual, true, authentic USGI M1 carbine. So yeah, let's say you're in the shop and you see the M1 carbine on the shelf. Well, you're going to talk to the associate to hand you the weapon. He's going to clear it, and then you will actually clear it too. It should be part of your safety checks. So you'll notice when you clear the rifle and you pull the charging handle back a little bit, you'll see on the receiver right by the barrel where it should state US Carbine Cal 30 M1. Okay, that would probably be your first clue to signify whether or not you're looking at an authentic M1 carbine. Some commercial manufacturers may have their name there, like this Universal. The next thing you may notice is what's on the barrel. Usually the top of the barrel will have a manufacturer with a date. Sometimes there will be just the name of the manufacturer. Sometimes there might not be a manufacturer on the barrel. But you see, even looking at the manufacturer name on the barrel won't indicate the true manufacturer of the rifle or where the rifle was actually assembled. So you need to look on the receiver. So here's probably the most important part to look at on the receiver to tell you whether or not it is, in fact, a true US World War II era M1 carbine. The true manufacturer name where the rifle was assembled will be underneath or behind the rear sight. If the M1 carbine has a flip sight, then it will be right behind that flip sight. If it has an adjustable rear sight, it will be slightly behind and underneath or just totally underneath that rear sight. So you need to grab a flashlight or your phone light and kind of look on each edge to see what the letters are. Here are the manufacturers to look for if you're looking at a carbine. Inland Division, General Motors mark theirs Inland Div. The inland ones are the most common as there are more of those manufactured. Winchester Repeating Arms mark theirs Winchester. Saginaw Steering Gear Division, part of General Motors, mark theirs Saginaw S.G. Underwood Elliott Fisher mark theirs Underwood. National Postal Meter mark theirs National Postal Meter. Quality Hardware Manufacturing Corp mark theirs Quality H.M.C. Union Switch was subcontracted, so it's rare, but you may come across receivers marked UN-Quality. International Business Machines mark theirs I.B.M.Corp. Standard Products mark theirs STD.PRO. Rock-Ola Manufacturing mark theirs Rock-Ola. Alright, and here are some of the rare ones. Irwin Pederson mark theirs Irwin-Pederson. And lastly, Commercial Controls Corporation mark theirs Commercial Controls, which these ones are extremely rare. So if you see those manufacturers behind the rear sight or underneath the rear sight, then yeah, you have an authentic USGI World War II M1 carbine unless somebody faked them. So keep in mind that manufacturer of the barrel and manufacturer of the receiver may be different. There were also other companies like Marlin that made barrels for the M1 carbines. Alright guys, let's take a little intermission and pulverize that like button. And subscribe if you haven't. Alright, so now let's move on to other things you may notice about the M1 carbine in your hand. Let's look at the stock. There were 3 types of M1 stocks and 2 types of M2 stocks. The Type 1 and 2 M1 stocks were known as high wood stocks. The Type 3 was known as low wood because the wood did not cover the slide channel. The Type 4 M2 stocks look like the Type 3 M1 stocks but have a cutout on the left side for the M2 selector switch. The Type 5 M2 stock is strengthened so that it looks more like a pot belly. This prevented cracking in that area, which was a known defect in the Type 4 M2 stocks. So you may see other cartouches like a cross cannons on the right side. You may see a circle P near the grip or a small letter code inside the sling inlet. Some carbines that were sent for rebuild may have the arsenal code stamped on the left side of the stock, kind of near the pistol grip area. And some stocks may not even indicate a manufacturer. You might have to take the weapon apart, which I don't recommend doing in the store, and they probably won't let you. but there may be some clues inside the rifle, maybe another proof mark or maybe a number or a letter. And we're going to go over the M1A1 Paratrooper stock. You're going to look for a P proof on the back of the grip. There might also be one to the side. You're going to look for crossed cannons on the bottom underside of the grip. You're going to look for large letter number combo with a triangle shape and a pie looking like symbol on the inside of that butt plate back there. And if all that checks out, the stock should be an original stock. Alright, so now that you looked at all that, let's take a look at maybe some of the early parts that you can find. Some M1 carbines still have their early parts. So if you look at the barrel and you see a bayonet lug, that means it was updated. In the earlier part of the war, the M1 carbines were not fitted with a bayonet lug. Next, you may notice whether or not it has a flat bolt or a round bolt. The flat bolts were used up until about 1943, and then all the M1 carbines made after that were switched to a round bolt. The flat bolts have been known to crack under a lot of stress. Then you also may notice whether or not it has a push button safety or a flip safety. The push button safety was used earlier in the war, but they switched it to a selector switch because it was too confusing for the average soldier to decipher whether or not they were pushing the safety or they were pushing the mag release. And then the last early feature would have been a flip sight. The flip sights were used earlier in the war, and then they switched to the adjustable sights. Alright, so now let's find out where we can see an import mark. So most likely you're probably going to see an import mark on the barrel. You need to look on top of the barrel, underneath the barrel, to the left of the barrel, maybe sometimes to the right of the barrel. Just look all around the barrel. Look for the tiniest inscriptions that may be an import mark. Some import marks may even be underneath the bayonet lug. Another place you might find an import mark are either on the left or the right side of the receivers. And if you don't see an import mark there, check underneath the trigger housing sort of near the mag well. And if there's no import marks anywhere visibly near, there could be one underneath the wood on the receivers or where the gas piston housing is. It'd be a flat area and you'd have to look closely for some tiny writing. But you'd have to take the rifle apart for that, and the shop may or may not let you do that. But if you don't have any import marks visible, then you probably found yourself a true unimported gem. Or it could have been from the DCM or the CMP from back in the day. Alright guys, that's it. That's all we got for today's episode. I'd appreciate it if you share the video with your friends, or like and subscribe if you haven't. And as always, be sure to learn history and curate history. Make it a great day.